Picture this. You are on a 14-hour flight, no adapter, 1 bar of service, battery at 18%. The iPhone 17 Pro Max already has the best battery life of any smartphone on the planet. Apple rates it at 39 hours. The iPhone 18 Pro Max is supposed to beat that. And if the leaks are right, this is not a slightly better situation. But here's the thing, the battery number is actually the least interesting story here. There is a camera upgrade on this phone that no iPhone in history has ever had, not once, not in any model, any year, any generation. And once you understand what it actually does, it is going to change how you think about smartphone photography entirely. We will get there. This is the iPhone 18 Pro Max. Apple's fall 2026 flagship, 6.9 inches, Pro Max, everything dialed up. I have been going through every credible leak, every supply chain report, every analyst note that has dropped since February. And I have landed on a take that is a little different from what most of the coverage is focusing on. So let me walk you through all of it. What is confirmed enough to trust? What is noise? And the one upgrade that I think is genuinely being underrated by everyone. Let's start with the battery, because this is where the numbers get deceptive in an interesting way. A supply chain source reported the iPhone 18 Pro Max battery moving into the 5,000 range, around 5,000 milliamp hours for the China version and 5,100 to 5,200 milliamp hours for international versions. Now, before you go, that is barely anything. The capacity increase alone is modest, barely 2%. So most of the runtime gain here is not coming from the bigger cell. It is coming from what is powering the phone. TSMC's 2-nanometer process, the node the A20 Pro is built on, is targeting 10 to 15% better performance at the same power draw, or, and this is the number that matters, 25 to 30% lower power consumption at the same performance level. Pick that second one. That is a massive real-world swing before you even factor in the bigger battery. And then there is the modem. Apple's new in-house C2 modem is landing in the 18 lineup. And if you saw what the C1 did for battery life in the iPhone 16e and the iPhone Air, you already know what a next-generation Apple modem does to a power budget. So what you are actually getting is not one improvement. You are getting three things stacking on top of each other simultaneously: a bigger battery, a dramatically more efficient chip, and a more efficient modem. That is compounding. That is not incremental. And with all three working together, the iPhone 18 Pro Max should comfortably clear 40 hours of mixed-use battery life. For context, Samsung's Galaxy S26 Ultra is already trailing Apple's current Pro Max in endurance tests. Apple already won this category. The iPhone 18 Pro Max is about to make the gap embarrassing. Okay, the A20 Pro chip. TSMC's 2-nanometer process is the first true node shrink for Apple Silicon in 3 years. Early reports point to a 15% CPU boost and 30% better efficiency over the A19 Pro. That 30% number, in a world where phones already have more performance than most people will ever use. Efficiency is the real battleground. It is what determines whether your phone still feels fast at 4 in the afternoon on a Tuesday 3 years from now. And it is not just raw performance. Pair that chip with 12 gigabytes of RAM across the Pro lineup, and you are looking at a device built specifically to carry the next 2 to 3 years of on-device Apple Intelligence features. Here's the thing about on-device AI. It is only as good as the chip running it. Every time Apple adds a feature that works fast, locally, without pinging a server, that is the chip doing it. The A20 Pro is being built to handle the next generation of those features. The performance gain is nice. The efficiency gain is what you will actually feel, right? Here it is. The thing I said we would come back to: variable aperture. A variable aperture lens is a lens that can physically open and close to control how much light enters the sensor. Similar to how your eye adjusts when you walk from a bright room into a dark one, it gives you real hardware control over depth of field and low light performance rather than relying purely on software. Read that again: hardware control, not software. Every single meaningful camera improvement on smartphones for the last 5 years has essentially been the same story: better software, better computational processing, better artificial intelligence doing more of the heavy lifting. The lens itself has not fundamentally changed. Variable aperture changes the lens. At least one of the iPhone 18 Pro models is confirmed in leaks to gain a variable aperture lens on the main camera. This would let users manually adjust how much light reaches the sensor, cutting down on overexposure in bright conditions and unlocking new depth of field control that no iPhone has ever offered before. Think about what that means practically. Right now, when you shoot in bright sunlight, the iPhone compensates with software. When you shoot at night, it stacks frames and processes. With variable aperture, you can stop down in bright light for sharper, more accurate exposure. Open it up at night for more light intake, the same way a photographer adjusts a camera on a phone. And that is not all. The telephoto lens on the 18 Pro Max is also getting a wider aperture, significantly improving low light performance and delivering sharper, more detailed, zoomed-in shots. So it is not just the main camera being rethought. The entire optical system is moving forward. This is the upgrade that matters most if you actually use your phone to shoot, and not just to impress yourself on a spec sheet. Design look: it is an iPhone Pro Max. There are no radical redesigns coming, but there are a few things worth paying attention to. The dynamic island is reportedly shrinking from around 20.76 millimeters on the iPhone 17 Pro Max down to approximately 13.49 millimeters on the 18. That is a reduction of about 35%. That is genuinely noticeable in daily use. The rear design is also changing, but Apple has reportedly updated the back glass to minimize the color difference between the glass and the aluminum frame, giving the phone a more unified, seamless appearance. And color-wise, the special color for the 18 Pro lineup is reportedly dark cherry alongside light blue, dark gray, and silver. Dark cherry is apparently more of a deep burgundy purple than a straight red. So if you were holding out for product red energy, that is not quite this. The display is also getting an update. The iPhone 18 Pro models are expected to feature new LTPO plus display technology, higher refresh rates, less power consumption, which feeds directly back into that battery story. Every part of this phone is pulling in the same direction, and the camera control button is being simplified, removing touch sensitivity and haptic feedback, keeping only pressure sensitivity. Honestly, I think this is the right call. The touch-sensitive version was interesting in theory. In practice, it was an accidental scroll waiting to happen. A clean pressure button is just better. September 2026. That part is not surprising. Expect an announcement in the second week of September, pre-orders that Friday, and devices shipping a week later. The on-sale date is either September 18th or September 25th, with September 18th looking more likely. But here is the part that actually is surprising. Apple is reportedly only releasing the high-end models in September this year: the iPhone 18 Pro, the Pro Max, the new foldable, and possibly an updated Air. The standard iPhone 18 is reportedly waiting until spring 2027. So if you have been on the fence about the base model, you're going to be waiting until next year. As for pricing, the iPhone 18 Pro Max is expected to hold at $1,199 at the entry storage tier, but higher storage configurations, 512 gigabytes and above, pricing is likely going up to absorb manufacturing costs, base price unchanged, storage upgrades, plan accordingly. So, should you actually care about the iPhone 18 Pro Max? Here's my honest take. If you are on an iPhone 15 Pro Max or older, this is a meaningful upgrade. The variable aperture camera alone is a genuine generational shift in what a phone lens can do. Pair that with the A20 Pro efficiency gains and the battery improvements, and you are looking at a device that will feel relevant 4 or 5 years from now. If you are on a 16 Pro Max or 17 Pro Max, the answer is more complicated. The camera is the wild card. If you shoot a lot, if you care about photography, if you push the camera system hard, the variable aperture system is a real reason to upgrade. Everything else iterative. If you are a heavy shooter, this is the one. If you are not, your 17 Pro Max is fine. More than fine, actually. But here's the thing nobody is saying out loud. The most interesting story in Apple's fall 2026 lineup might not be the iPhone 18 Pro Max at all. The new foldable iPhone, reportedly around 5.5 inches closed and approximately 7.8 inches open, is landing at the same time, and its battery is expected to clear 5,500 milliamp hours, the largest capacity of any iPhone ever made, larger than any rival foldable on the market. It is going to compete for the exact same budget. I am going to cover the head-to-head, a Pro Max versus foldable, as soon as the information is solid enough to trust, because if you are spending north of $1,200 this fall, you should probably know what both options actually are before you decide. So tell me, are you a Pro Max loyalist, or are you actually tempted by the fold? Drop it in the comments. I read them.